I think one of the reasons why people crash and burn when they're trying to save money while shopping is, one, because of their obsession with retail therapy, and two, the idea that the more you buy equates to the more successful you are because you have money to spend. An example is labeling your clothing hauls as, "I had such a successful day today." This is not snatching food out of a crying baby's hand. This is more equivalent to snatching an old lady's sacred quilt that she handmade when all she wants to do is see you be successful and thrive. You're taking away what makes your bank account truly happy and using it on your own personal gain and satisfaction. Just think about that. Think about that. Think about that. I got nothing left to say there, gotta be honest. As you can see from the title of this video, today I'm going to be talking about how to save money while shopping. This video is a part of my new Baddie on a Budget series. This series is going to be dedicated to my journey as a minimalist, how I earn money, how I save money, and all of that stuff. Tip number one is general advice a lot of people give to people trying to save money. I don't necessarily follow this because I have enough restraint to avoid temptations when shopping, but if you do not, this is a good tip to follow. Don't put yourself in environments where you're tempted to buy something. This could be window shopping at malls, it could be scrolling through online sites, or sale days. I personally still do Black Friday shopping, Cyber Monday shopping. I window shop from time to time, but I would use the word shop very loosely because I never really buy anything. So if you are an avid shopper trying to save money and you can't resist buying stuff when you see it in the store, then just avoid the store. But for me personally, I don't have to worry about that when I go to the mall. I literally work in the mall, and I will show you guys how I learned not to buy everything I see in the stores. So tip number two that I generated is what I call the love brainstorm strategy. So this is a strategy where you think of all of the physical items you love. Think about the physical item you want to buy, and then compare it to the physical items you already have at home and see how it compares. Tip number three is what I call the working your job strategy. This strategy usually does it for me. This eliminates about 70% of the stuff I'm thinking about buying. So is this item worth working another blank amount of hours at your job? And if you don't have a job, you could think about some other activity you'd be dreading if you had to do it for a longer period of time. For example, is this item worth going through the University of Washington's boxing boot camp again? Most of the time, no. Most of the time, no. The fourth tip is just the give it time strategy. So I only use this strategy when I know that this item can be easily purchased at a later date. So what I do is I take a picture of the item and write it down in my wants list. So don't look at it for about a month. I usually do mine for about a 3-month period. At the end of that time period, you look back at the item and you see if you still want it. I would say at least half the time, many people are doing compulsive buying. Give yourself the genuine opportunity to forget about this item for a while and go back to it. If you go back and there's no spark of joy that's like, oh my gosh, I love this item, I can't wait to get it, then you don't need it. Tip number 5 is the limiting by category strategy. I think about the items that I already have that fall under this category. Most of the time, you're going to already have too many items in that category, so you no longer need this new one that you're wanting. Tip number 6 is capturing the moment strategy. So if you really like the item, take a picture of the item or take a picture of you wearing it. If you don't end up buying the item, at least you have a picture to remember it by. Tip number 7, I think, is one of the most helpful strategies, and this is increasing the price strategy. I think $15 is a good amount, otherwise you can adjust it to whatever fits for you. For me, it's weird. If it goes from 50 to 65, I'll be like, oh, that's not that bad. But if it goes from 15 to 30, I'll be like, I can't buy that. I would say don't increase the price too much, because if you're considering buying a shirt that's $10 and you increase it by $100, yeah, you wouldn't buy the shirt. The 8th tip is the would you rather strategy. There's 2 parts to this. So the first one is you're going to think about a bucket list item or a wish list item and compare it to the item you're thinking about buying. So for example, would I rather buy this item or would I rather save it to go see my favorite band live? So the second part you can do is would I rather have this item or money? Most of the time for me, it's money. Tip number 9 is the one item at a time strategy. Let's say you're window shopping or online shopping and you can only buy one item. Would this be the item that you want to buy? Tip number 10 is what I call the eco-guilt strategy. And this is really just considering the company that you're buying from. Are they fast fashion? Do they not pay their laborers well? Do they use child labor? Are they testing on animals? Are they vegan? Do they have bad customer service? Do they not work to improve their products after complaints? Do they use a lot of unnecessary packaging? Do they throw away items that people return? So I'm gonna be honest, I haven't practiced this tip before, but I'm starting to be a lot more conscious about my spending in terms of like the environment and its impacts. So I'm excited to practice this tip in future purchases. Here are some general pro tips. So number 1 is don't get things just because they're on sale. This kind of goes back to my increasing the price strategy, but if you're not willing to buy this item when it's super expensive, then you probably don't need it. Obviously, if this is an item that you've set your mind on for a while and you know you really want it, then get it when it's on sale. But if one of the driving factors for you getting it is because it's on sale. Tip number 2 is just personal preference, but I would just say avoid online shopping if possible. There are so many things that could go wrong, and there's so many things wrong with the environmental impacts. This is why I try and avoid online shopping with clothes, because the sizing charts are such a mess. I wouldn't say it's completely their fault. Like, everyone has a beautiful, different, unique body type. But for me, a lot of these clothes do not fit me well. This is why I like to go to the mall when I'm purchasing clothes, because if I don't like the fit on me when I'm wearing it, then I save money. Number 3 relates to tip number 2, and that is if you are thinking about buying the item, you must try the item on. Sometimes if you think the item is pretty at first sight, but then you try it on and it's uncomfortable or the fitting is weird and the color's not right when you look at it in the lighting, then you don't need the item. Number 4, I'm guilty of not following. This is don't spend your money on a one-time purchase. Going off of that, tip number 5 is don't spend $500 on a prom dress. Tip number 6, which is one of the most helpful ones for me, is to have a needs list and make sure this is separate from your wants list. When you have a needs list separate from your wants list, you are taking that step to be more mindful of your purchases. So those were some of the strategies and tips that I use to save money while shopping. If you guys have any questions, comments, or more video ideas you want to see in this series, you can go ahead and leave it in the section down below. That is it for this video. I hope you all have a great rest of your day. Save money, be happy. That's definitely a slogan for something. Anyway, bye!